night is all about.
Here we go. And see, well, it's time to make that change.
Apostle, this is
People of
this
the world today are fading. All of us have our ups and downs. You better think about it or
the
you won't
beauty
be
of a
proud.
baby.
Celebrate love. Sent by one from heaven up above.
It's like we keep giving message after message. We're doing vision, and it's like somebody has the attention of our children more than us. You know, and it's hurting.
Mine was my godmother, Aunt Betty. And they bring you in the world, midwives. Now, why is that important? Because your black behind couldn't go across the track to a white hospital. My mother lost 3 kids older than me on that table. But she was so in love with having a baby, she tried one more time. I survived it. My mother had 170 miles to go to the nearest hospital where blacks could be accepted. Many of her family died on that road to get to that hospital. You can't send an ambulance that far. You're dead anyway by the time it gets there. You don't know what we won for you because you ain't went through nothing. When you can't go to the public park, you can't go and see a movie show, you can't go in the store and try on nothing because you're black. You can't sit down and eat because you're black. You can't do nothing the white kids do. You can't go to the swimming pool. Even the carnival itself on the 7th day was the black day, and only the merry-go-round and the swing let us ride. So when you don't know, you're busy telling people what they ain't did for you that you can do we never did until we fought for your right to do it. So you have to teach the lesson first so you value one another's struggle, because yours is different than ours. I never seen my older brothers and sisters. They died on that table, brother. What kind of mama did I have that she willing to risk her life one more time for this son to come forward? What kind of love did that black woman have to go against them white folks saying, we ain't gonna help you. You ain't getting nothing for pain. Wrap a rag around this spoon, bite on it, and push. Y'all ain't went through none of that. So take your time, learn what we did, learn what you must do from us, and then take what you got in your head and make it better. When I see you and I hear your spirit, I just stroke you. I just encourage you. Because we're not supposed to hand you the baton. You're supposed to take it. Nobody give us no baton when we were teenagers. We took it. We took it in 1966, downtown Minneapolis, when they whooped that 14-year-old black girl in front of us. That's when we took it, when we whooped them downtown and had the first rebellion in North Minneapolis. It's your time to take it. But you got to hear us to know what this monster is really about. You got to hear us to know where the bones are really buried, that you have to change. And you have to hear us so you can become one instead of this trying to go to war. You are this trying to go to war. We can't even claim ourselves as a nation. Who are we? We N-word. We Negroes. We colored. We spook. We coon. We disciple. We vice lords. We blood. Who are we? Why do we never say African people born in this side of the world? So it's important that the lessons that he's hooking up right here happen, and then you got to have the same spirit. We didn't join the Black Panthers, and what I had was the Shaka Zulu Warriors, the stand up to the police for free. We knew our lives was at risk when we made the Black Patrol. We didn't know they're going to let us give us a pass. They armed themselves, we armed ourselves. When we did the Soul Patrol, they armed themselves, we armed ourselves. And we fought back with our own spirit. And let me tell you one other thing that's more important. When the old people went out with the Civil Rights Movement, we went out with the Black Power Movement. Yeah, you want to live next to them. We want the same house they want in our own neighborhood. Yeah, you want to go to their school. No, we want the same schools in our neighborhood with better teachers. Yeah, you want to vote. We want to vote too, but we want to run for office. Yeah, you want to go sit down in their restaurant. No, we want to own our own. That was the Black Power Movement. That didn't come from old people. That came from young people. SNCC, CORE, all these people were young. All of them. So we expect you to pick that baton up. We die in vain if you don't. We did all of this for nothing if you don't. I went to jail in San Antonio, in Alabama, and Louisiana for you. I didn't go for nothing else. I don't do no criminal stuff, but I had no problem. One of the last things Jesse Jackson told me on a movement one day, we were fighting for the Mexican workers. And the police had so many, it looked like an army in front of us. And they was giving us a few seconds to clear out. And Jesse Jackson looked at me And he grabbed me by my arm. He said, come on, Spike, let's go. And he went straight at him. And I'm going to live and die on that. You better have that spirit. You better have that courage. You better have that understanding and that faith. And you use your elders to know what they went through. And in closing, let me share this with you. How many of you here know about the 91 days in North Minneapolis? Did you know about it? 91 days of fighting back with guns when Martin Luther King died, when we made the Black Patrol. This city, this state, had 4, 5, 9, and 11 to keep the world from knowing there was a race war going on in North Minneapolis with guns for 91 days. When people say ain't nothing been done for them, the majority of the soldiers were you. There wasn't that many old people. The majority of the soldiers were you. The men and the women were you that fought sometimes 3 shifts a day because they decided to shoot at everybody black, go down Penn, turn on Plymouth, shoot at any black walking. And they came that way. When we armed ourselves, we fought back for 91 days. I don't know what your 91 days will be, but you better hear me.
Okay.
Sister Ayo, can I elevate something real quick?
Okay, wait a minute.
Just a quick note, because
Okay,
Elder Moss
just wait.
sparked
Okay, we
in
gotta
my
keep it
head.
on that note. We gotta keep it on this
I know.
note, because this is just the perfect.
It is. It's going to be on the note. I just got to say this one piece. Elder Moss started off and said that the Jews, they open up the synagogue on Saturdays to do these educational pieces. And even though that's not an institutional practice across the nation of black folks, in Minneapolis, we once had the Way. And the Way was
Yes.
that temple that opened up and taught the black community for years. And we have to elevate that institutional practice and historical reality in our community.
Absolutely, and as we know, that is why we are here right now. Getting all of the golden nuggets, y'all, it's so good. This is so good. Okay, so Elder Spike Moss, you were just talking about this 91 days that is really important to talk about. There are there's a couple books out that talk about the Black Revolution and Black people with guns. There is Negroes with Guns, written by Robert F. Williams, and then there is The Negro and the Gun, which is a deeper research around Black Revolution, Black liberation, and the role of firearms and weapons. And so we know that the first laws on the books around weapons and firearms were specifically for Black folks, for African people, to not have any weapons, to be able to fight for their liberation. And that's just the truth. And so as time continued to progress, more and more laws get on the books to keep firearms out of the hands of Black people. So I don't know if some of you may have seen my little 7-year-old in the green shirt. He ran up to me and I sent him off on his way, and he came back and he was holding this in his hand, and he said, I know y'all can't see it, but I'm gonna show the panelists. He said, I found a bullet over there where we were playing. And so we know that Black folks are disproportionately impacted by gun violence. We know that it continues to happen over and over and over again. And we also know that Harriet Tubman, she kept a little something, something on her back. And we know that Ida B. Wells talked about having a Winchester rifle sitting on the mantelpiece for the fight for freedom. And so I just want to pose a question to the panelists, and it is kind of a dual question about how do we reduce the ways in which the delusion of white supremacy continues to implode upon us? How do we deal with the internalized oppression and the internalized white supremacy that we're dealing with? And also, how do we kind of flip that so that we're not finding these on a high school track in our community, to where a 7-year-old doesn't have to know what this is? How do we do that, and what is the role in that with our liberation and reparations for our people?
100%. Brother Adrian, I pray I'm not speaking out of turn, but I really just want to say this. I want to salute Brother Adrian, because some of you know when the uprising was going on, we know that there were a lot of white people burning our buildings. And there were so many people in North Minneapolis, and I ended up helping make Sammy's a headquarter. But long before we got out there, Brother Adrian was holding it down, and so many brothers. So I just want to make sure that we say it wasn't 91 days, but there were a lot of days that there were brothers right over here in North Minneapolis. A lot of the brothers that society would like to throw away. I called them the boys from the hood. They pulled up. They was like, "Hey, you with the NAACP? Just know we out here, we got your back." And a number of them pulled up. So a lot of time we talk about where the brothers when stuff like that goes down, and I want to note that they were around, right? I think it's so important for us to, one, be able to protect ourselves, and they do go to extreme. I think that's what all of this creating super predators, right? Make us out to be super violent, super evil, so it can say, oh no, they don't need guns in their community, right? Even the violence that you see in our inner cities, right? That's an agenda as well, because as Elder Spike talked about, we're not the ones bringing these guns into our community, right? And when you have extreme levels of poverty, right? When you have lack of opportunities, when you don't understand who you are, whose you are, and who your brothers and sisters are, you have things like this happen. When you don't have any conflict resolution and de-escalation tactics and people really helping you to take a deep breath, because you got a lot of stress, you got a lot of trauma, you got a lot of anxiety going on, right? And so you have these young people given semi-automatic weapons. They got gadgets that I can't afford, that I know they can't afford. So the question is, who's putting it in their hands? And why are they putting it in their hands? And we know why, because they want them to kill each other. One ended up dead and the other one in jail. That's the agenda. And so for me, you know, let me stand up for a second, okay? Shout out to the community activation bus that we're working on back there. Amen. We purchased an RV that we're transforming into a community activation bus. And we had our first session with NICAT, the Network for the Development of Children of African Descent. Would love for y'all to come to a session. I know you're one of my favorite Black families. And when I tell you, it was so amazing. It was so amazing to be able to build and learn about Black people or Africans in America who have contributed and done so many great things, and to recognize our communication styles and our family and the 21 standards for a healthy African family. I think that's a part of the foundation. And it was so beautiful because as we were sitting out there, it was like 10 kids from the neighborhood that was playing on the basketball court and that came over and was able to build with us. And I think it's about bringing that village back, right? To pour into our communities, to love each other. And we need resources. We need the way. It's not a coincidence that the way was turned into the 4th precinct, right? They completely get away from our community centers that's pouring into the community and then create these militarized police officers and precincts and then wonder why we're in the situation we're in today. Right? Where are the skating rinks? Where are the movie theaters? Where are the arts and culture? Where are all of these things, right? And so I think we have to hold politicians accountable. We have to hold ourselves accountable, but with grace. Because one thing we're good at is pointing the finger at each other and blaming each other. And I often say, you know, these kids that grow up playing with these guns are the children that we failed, right? There's always a window of opportunity for young people to go left or to go right. And so we have to continue to pour into the next generation. We got to continue to love our brothers and sisters and remind ourselves that we are kings and queens, right? And that we can do anything that we put our mind to. And just the last point I want to make about the mental chains that are on us that Elder Spike talked about. Carter G. Woodson wrote The Miseducation of the Negro, and that is still so important to this day because Minneapolis Public Schools is literally indoctrinating our children to think that they are not good enough, to think that they cannot learn, to think that they cannot grow, right? And so it's so many things tied into one, but I just want to throw those couple of things out.
That's
you know, I just Brother Spike, I just and Leslie, you have no idea, and Brother Spike, you don't know, and actually my child felt it from afar. You felt it as well. Of my 72 years, for years I have jokingly said to my siblings, I'm the oldest of 8 siblings, and I had always said that my mother prayed for me, and so I was the lucky child. Little did I know, my mother had 3 miscarriages before me. Now, those miscarriages didn't happen on a kitchen table. We're Army brats. She didn't get the kind of care at the Army hospital that the white women got. Thus the care that the white women didn't get. She died about 10 years ago. And when you touched me, there was something from her that I felt from Tande Sizwe. And when anyway, for years now I've said that I had no trauma, I had no pain. I've learned how to deal with white folks, and anyhow, obviously, I've got some trauma. I've got some pain. I've got some stuff I got to deal with. So, thank you, etc.
So yeah, when it comes to dismantling white supremacy in black communities and black lives in general, I think it's important for us to, reckon with ourselves. Like Brother Spike Moss said, looking back in history, learning about where we came from, knowing that we were kings and queens prior to where we are now, and understanding how we carried ourselves, how we behaved, how we loved one another. And then looking at how we are today, where we are today, it's like the total opposite. The music has changed, the way we dress has changed. A lot has changed over time, but sometimes change is good, so not all change is bad. However, looking at the different pillars that affect our community: health, education, housing, economics, and then civically being engaged in advocacy and things of that nature. How do we uphold the different systems, institutions within these different pillars that carry and uphold the white supremacy model? And then it goes back to institutional independence. How do we build our own? And, just keeping that power in ourselves. Even with the HBCUs, we depend on other funding. Instead of our alumni funding, we depend on corporation funding, white, allies funding us, when we should be giving back. And I think this need to go back to just honing in on what's ours, keeping it ours. Don't let it get watered down. Don't let nobody co-opt it. Continue to give back, reinvest. That's a word that we don't use enough. Reinvest in energy, time, resources, whatever it looks like. Being a mentor to the youth, holding each other accountable. A lot of times we don't see the village being a village anymore. It's, some parents get mad because someone else is addressing their child or something like that. So we gotta, reckon with ourselves and understand that back in the day when everything was peace and harmony for us, not necessarily peace and harmony because there was never peace and harmony for us, but when we were holding each other accountable, there was less gun violence between each other. It was more so a revolution, black power, like Brother Spike Moss said. The reason why we equipped ourselves with guns in the first place, get back to that. Let the young brothers know why we are equipping ourselves with guns. It's not to protect the little change in our pocket or the little pills that's in our car, whatever the case it may be. It's to protect our families, to protect ourselves, protect our institutions, the programs that we are taking ownership of. Tell the young folk the reasons why we first equipped ourselves with weapons, guns, straps was to protect ourselves, protect our women, protect our families, protect our communities. Not to protect the drugs, the pills, the cash, the little one stack that we keep for the whole 365 days in our pocket that we don't want nobody to take from us. So it's just going back to reckoning, understanding our history, and just doing the work when it comes to that, as well as holding these systems accountable also and building our own.
Well, I thank you because you said some things that are a major problem for black people. What's your name again? if you look at a black superstar NFL player, he might be that one that has a $140, $160 million contract. This summer, he's going home for his family reunion, Mississippi, where everybody's dirt poor. Grandma might be the first one to walk up to him. Grandson, you've been eating grandma's food a long time. You like it, don't you? Yeah, Grandma. You can't nobody out cook me, don't you? Yeah, Grandma. This restaurant down there been closed. They said if I could get $7,000, I could open up. Well, Grandma, right now I'm here for the family reunion. And when I finish that and get back home, think about it, I call you. He walked to the family reunion a little further and run into his uncle. How you doing, nephew? I'm very proud of you up there in that NFL. You know, I ain't did nothing but work on cars all my life. I want that gas station over there for $12,000. I don't care how you want me to pay it back. I want that gas station. Well, uncle, right now I'm here for the family reunion. Let me get home and think about it. After the picnic that night on Saturday, they go back to the hotel, take a shower, get dressed, and hit the clubs. He's throwing $25,000 in the air to make it rain.
Listen.
To make it rain. But couldn't see how to lift his own. That's why that class on Saturday is so important. I could date her as a kid. We 12 years old. We in puppy love all up and down the block. We playing every day. I like her, she like me. She might tell me one day, I like you, little Spike. But the minute I go off to college and get that pro contract, that little girl I love, she ain't good enough. She ain't good enough. So what you touched on is at the root of our destruction, but speak to why that class is so important. It's not just the movement itself. The basics they don't have. The basics. You got young girls in the kitchen burning Kool-Aid. Who told you you could cook Kool-Aid? The basics.
Oh my God.
When we looked at our moms, our mom was God.
I ain't never heard that one.
We got a generation that talks back to their mom, cusses their mom, intimidates their mom, beats their mom, and in the last 20 years, been killing their mom. That class is so important to re-raise our people back into blackness. Remember the song Slipping into Blackness? Or the Sounds of Blackness? We got to slip back into blackness and then build from there by dialoguing the way y'all are doing. And let me say personally, I'm probably the oldest on this stage. I'm so proud of y'all for even having this discussion about your own future and your own survival. It touches my heart. Because this is next to God that we got a generation still holding on. Yes, we're losing thousands in the street. I said over there in that church just a couple of weeks ago to all the pastors, the Klan is 170 years old. We have now killed more black people than the Klan in 170 years. The Vietnam War went on for 5 years. We've now wounded and killed more black people than the Vietnam War. I said, when the young man went down in the streets of Philly up there in Maryland, he said, I can't breathe, and we all stood up, and Black Lives Matter was born. Everybody was marching. But at that moment in that city, we had killed 387 people and wounded 2,252. When the young man went down in the streets in Chicago, he got shot 16 times. Black Lives Matter hit the street. But at that moment, we had shot and killed 597 people. We had wounded 2,236 people, and we ended up wounding 4,000 at the end of the year. We need y'all like yesterday to rescue your own generation, your own future, your own right to live. You can stand on the sideline and not talk to them and say you ain't part of it, but they'll get around to killing you too.
Listen.
You have to go into that room and you lay down the way. The one lesson I said to this state, if you don't decide how Chicago's going to live when they get to Minnesota, they're going to decide how you live. And guess what's happening? They have decided how you will live. So the only way you can take that back is have a different perspective. It goes to all of y'all's point. Build what? Wealth, economics, housing, banking, your stores. If white folks all left here, we got nothing. I can tell you right now, we can lose our supermarket any day. They've been fighting to leave for the last 12 years because we're robbing them blind. We can lose our drugstore. You hit them one more time. What do you have to replace any of it? Build for your own survival, your own future. Take care of yourself and stop thinking the only person can do for you is the person that put you in bondage.
Listen. Mic drop.
Exactly, mic drop. There are no allies. Either you in it or you ain't. There is no in between.
That part.
And so, so we are so humbled and honored to have been able to facilitate this conversation on liberations and reparations. Just for the sake of record, I want to be able to say everyone's name. We have Ms. Julene Jackson.
All right.
We have our sister Leslie Redmond. Brother Vachel, you have to tell me your last name. Brother Vachel Hudson. We have Brother Bossman Hassan Kais Asadiq. Boom. We have our elder Spike Moss.
All right.
Thank y'all for dropping so many jewels. We know that this is the beginning of the conversation. And so we appreciate everyone's contribution. I can't wait. I want to be on the.
I know.
I want to be on the panel. I want to talk.
I want to sit and just learn and take my notes. I didn't have my pass, so I could just keep taking notes.
And I'm Iolanda Mack.
And I'm Adrian Mack, and we represent Black Family Blueprint. I want to call to the stage my young brother who has been inspiring me, who's been just a leader in his vocal, his politics, his artistry. Just a powerful movement coming out of Minnesota. Brother Louis Blaze, come to the stage and
Close us out.
Close us out.
Amen.
Yo. Can you make some more noise for yourself right now?
Yeah. Hallelujah.
We out here in the name of love, in the name of peace, in the name of solidarity, in the name of reparations and liberation. We gonna close out with a phenomenal performance by none other than Mac Turner and Prince Riley. Royal Family Music Group is in the building. And let's close out with some tunes, some hip hop, and some more vibrations on top of that amazing conversation. Peace and love.
Good here. Yo. How y'all doing? I ain't gonna lie, I learned so much I was just here for like 20 minutes and I learned so much from the last conversation that I caught, like the little bit left, I learned so much. I appreciate this, actually. I'm glad I was able to come. So let's do it. Hey, Louis, we need you for this one. He knows when his part is, so go ahead and get your hoods in. Yeah. Hey, this song is called America. It's on all platforms. Yo, look, living in America. Yeah. Whoa, I can tell you how I feel, like the whole world in coming in, got nothing left to fear, for real. I've been living in America. If you ain't ballin', if you ain't spending money, you're a target. Let's have a talk for real. Living in America. As you grow, it's getting real. People same color as me getting killed. Don't know how to chill, but still, I've been living in America. I no longer want it all, cause I don't know to pay that price. I don't know what it costs for real. Praying for the Amazon and enough for life as we know it burning in the field. They got us distracted over a sandwich that you can make it the crib. I wanna give up. I wanna lose gravity. Ooh, yeah. Just to wave my goodbye away from all the insanity. We got too many problems and ain't nobody trying to solve. You can get popped on your block or shot by the cops. Who you finna call? That's why I be placed in my home. That's the only place where I'm lonely. I tell all my bros to stay on this way, cause ain't no replacing my homies. Sometimes I feel like if I get high, the pain will go away. But it never works, cause when it fades away, I feel the same. I apologize for Mother Earth for living here in vain. But I can't speak for the entire human race, and this what it's like living in America. Yeah. Hey, let me tell you how I feel, like the whole world's in coming near. Got none of the fear for whoa. I've been living in America. Yeah. In America, where if you ain't ballin', if you don't swim in money, you a target. Let's have a talk for real. Living in America. Ooh, yeah. As you grow, it's getting real. People same color as me getting killed. Don't know how to chill, but still, I've been living in America. Where I no longer want it all. Yeah, cause I don't wanna pay the price, I don't know what it costs. For real, talk to him. I don't feel free in this land of the free. Got these cuffs on my hands while I'm down on my knees. Down on my knees. And I can't resist, there's no way I could flee. Still I'm threatening like air raid, now I cannot breathe. I gotta stay strong, can show no weakness. Gotta wake the ones who still sleeping. Gotta make changes like the season. See the opportunity, I gotta seize it. Gotta pray to God and ask for hope. I gotta beat the odds and stand for those who also got their back against the ropes. With a way to cope in which the pain would go. So I ask, will we ever let the cage bird fly? Forever we heard the cage bird cry. So never looking at cage bird, I realize the cage bird really us is how we both bleed, breathe, think, and eat, sleep, dream, believe, and seek. We be free. We all see things we need to achieve. But unity is the truest living in America. Yeah, let me tell you how I feel, like the whole world's in coming near. Got nothing left to fear, for real. I've been living in America. Where you ain't, if you ain't ballin', if you ain't swimming money, you a target. Let's have a talk for real. Living in America. As you grow, it's getting real. People same color as me getting killed. Don't know how to chill, but still, I've been living in America. I no longer want it all, no, cause I don't wanna pay the price, I don't know what it costs for real. Prosecutors did me like they did me. Trying to stop the way I eat, hands up, freeze, get down on your knees. Got me yelling, please, can you help me now? Can you help me now? Mine couldn't take a plea or guilty, you'll be found. Hey, yeah, they be lying through their teeth. I swear it's like you guilty till you proven innocent. Innocent, getting sentences from the witnesses, like the witnesses get benefits. Ain't no justice in this world we living in. Yeah, people die every day. Whoa, police supposed to be serving, protecting. They taking my people away. I gotta free my people. Open some doors, no peepholes. Gotta take a chance like CeeLo. I can't let them burn my ego. Man down, we gone. Case gone bad, now he gone. 2 men away from their home for too long. But that's what it's like living in America. Let me tell you how I feel, like the whole world's in coming near. Got nothing to fear, for real. I've been living in America. Where if you ain't ballin', if you don't swim in money, you a target. Let's have a talk for real. Living in America. As you grow, it's getting real. People same color as me getting killed. Don't know how to chill, but still, I've been living in America. Well, I no longer want it all, cause I don't wanna pay the price, I don't know what it costs for real. Living in America. All power to the people. Living in America. All power to the people. All power to the people. Living in America. My homie, you know you place where I'm only a kid. Stay on this play, cause you're the place in my. Whoa, all platforms, that's what it's called, America. What's called America. Thank y'all, you can look at Mac Turner. That's why I be placed in my homie. Is the only place where I'm lonely. I chill on my roses and chill this play. Thank y'all. Woo!
That's a classic.
Make some noise for yourself right now.